We often talk about grand geopolitical conflicts, but there's a silent struggle reshaping our world. It's not fought with bullets and bombs, at least not directly, but with barrels of oil, sanctions, and strategic alliances. This hidden battle impacts everything from the price you pay at the pump to the stability of entire nations. It's a contest for energy dominance, playing out in the shadows of global headlines. This secret oil war is happening right now, and almost no one is truly talking about its immense implications. One of the most visible battlegrounds in this secret oil war is the relentless pressure of sanctions on major producers like Russia and Iran. The United States has consistently targeted entities involved in their oil exports, aiming to limit their revenue and geopolitical influence. For example, new U.S. sanctions announced in early 2025 targeted over 160 tankers, which are estimated to have transported about 22% of Russia's seaborne oil exports in 2024. These measures are designed to disrupt supply chains and make it harder for these countries to sell their crude. While Russia, under certain conditions, can still export oil below a $60 price cap, Iran faces a complete prohibition on selling its oil at any price. The effectiveness of these sanctions is a constant topic of debate. The International Energy Agency, IEA, noted in January 2025 that while supply forecasts for Russia and Iran remained, the new measures could tighten crude and product balances globally. These restrictions have led to the emergence of shadow fleets, vessels operating under obscured ownership to bypass sanctions, transporting billions of dollars worth of oil in 2024 alone. This parallel trading system creates pricing inefficiencies and complicates traditional market analysis. The impact isn't just on the sanctioned nations. Chinese refineries, for instance, have shifted some of their buying towards Europe, Africa, and Arab states in response to these sanctions. This ripple effect highlights how attempts to control one part of the global oil flow inevitably reroute and impact others, creating new alliances and challenges. The situation remains fluid, with some analysts even suggesting that a potential return of sanction-ridden Russian barrels due to a breakthrough in the Russia-Ukraine war could weigh on crude prices by late 2025. Another crucial player in this silent conflict is the alliance known as OPEC+, a group of major oil-producing nations including the traditional OPEC members and allies like Russia. This powerful cartel has been engaged in a delicate balancing act, strategically cutting production to stabilize or even boost oil prices amidst fluctuating global demand and rising output from non-OPEC+ countries. In 2024, OPEC+ members subject to targets reduced crude output by 1.66 million barrels per day, an even bigger decrease than in 2023. These cuts, along with voluntary reductions, amounted to a total of 5.86 million barrels per day by January 2025, representing about 5.7% of global demand. Key players like Saudi Arabia and Russia significantly reduced their production, with Saudi Arabia cutting output to its lowest since 2010, and Russian production also falling to its lowest since at least 2010. However, this strategy comes at a cost. While OPEC+ limits its output, countries outside the alliance have continued to increase production, effectively eating into OPEC+ market share. Non-OPEC+ producers, primarily the United States, Brazil, Canada, and Guyana, are forecast to be the main drivers of global oil supply growth in 2025 and 2026. The US alone is expected to increase its production of petroleum liquids by 0.6 million barrels per day in 2025. The dynamic is shifting. While OPEC+ initially extended many of its production cuts until the end of 2026, with some additional voluntary cuts easing out starting in April 2025, there's growing pressure from some members to increase output sooner. This is partly due to forecasts of a market surplus in 2025 as non-OPEC Plus supply continues to rise and global demand growth slows, especially from China. This internal tension within OPEC Plus, coupled with external pressures from nations like the US calling for increased production, further complicates the oil market. Beyond direct sanctions and production strategies, the global oil market is heavily influenced by a geopolitical risk premium. This is an additional cost embedded in oil prices due to the perceived likelihood of supply disruptions from political conflicts, sanctions, infrastructure attacks, or diplomatic tensions. It means that even the threat of disruption can significantly impact prices, regardless of actual supply availability. A prime example of this is the Red Sea shipping crisis, which escalated significantly in late 2023 and continued into 2024 and early 2025. Houthi attacks on commercial ships in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait and the broader Red Sea forced many shipping companies to reroute vessels around the Cape of Good Hope. This added 10–14 days to transit times for journeys between Asia and Europe, leading to surging freight and insurance costs. While there were signs of stabilization and increased vessel transits by late 2024 and into 2025, the risk premium remains. These disruptions highlight the vulnerability of critical chokepoints in global oil trade. The strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz, for instance, means that even credible threats of disruption can generate significant price responses. The instability in key regions keeps oil prices elevated, challenging traditional supply-demand fundamentals and making uncertainty itself a tradable commodity for energy traders. The demand side of this secret oil war is equally complex. For well over a decade, China was the primary driver of global oil demand growth, but that dynamic is changing. Global oil demand growth for 2024 came in below expectations, mainly due to falling demand in China. Its consumption is even projected to peak around 2027, driven by a surge in electric vehicle sales and the expansion of high-speed rail. Interestingly, India is now expected to contribute more to oil demand growth than China for the first time. This shift underscores a broader rebalancing of global oil consumption patterns. Meanwhile, the energy transition, the global move towards cleaner energy sources, is a quiet but powerful force in this ongoing oil war. While high oil prices can sometimes incentivize producers to double down on fossil fuels, they also encourage countries to seek energy independence and invest in renewables. The geopolitical dimensions of this transition are clear. The balance of power is shifting from traditional fossil fuel exporters to nations controlling clean energy technologies and raw materials. China, for example, is heavily investing in and exporting massive amounts of renewable hardware like solar panels, EVs, and batteries, while the US focuses on exporting oil and gas. This competition for the future of energy exports adds another layer to the secret oil war, as nations vie for influence in a changing energy landscape. Experts predict a long-term decline in fossil fuel use, with oil consumption potentially dropping significantly by 2050. Perhaps the most secret aspect of this oil war involves allegations of market manipulation. In May 2025, a class action lawsuit was filed in the United States District Court for the District of New Mexico, alleging that major U.S. shale oil producers conspired with OPEC to limit crude oil production and artificially inflate prices. The complaint cited evidence from a Federal Trade Commission (FTC) investigation from May 2024, which found that a former CEO of Pioneer Natural Resources had engaged in years-long efforts to fix the price of crude oil by communicating with high-ranking OPEC officials and U.S. competitors about pricing and output. House Democrats have even called for criminal charges, asserting that such collusion drove up prices for consumers. This kind of alleged coordination, if proven, would represent a direct, hidden front in the oil war, where powerful players actively work to control market dynamics for their own benefit, impacting global economies in the process. The secret oil war is a multifaceted struggle, fought on battlegrounds ranging from sanctions and strategic alliances to shipping lanes and market manipulation. It's a conflict where economic leverage, geopolitical positioning, and the shifting tides of energy demand all play crucial roles. While not always making front-page news, the outcomes of this hidden war profoundly shape our world, impacting everything from global inflation to the pace of the energy transition. Understanding these subtle but powerful forces is key to grasping the true state of our global economy. If you found this exploration of the secret oil war thought-provoking, please hit that like button. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand the unseen forces shaping our world, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on these complex dynamics. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into topics no one else is talking about.